Well, hello there, and welcome to the kitchen of the dollhouse as we cook up another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Hugh Stelfers for October 2nd, the day of verbal acuity. That's right. And here at the top of the page is a visual representation of the day of verbal acuity. Well, we have us an image of, what is it? Well, it's an apple that's being hit by two groups of arrows. That's right. They're in some tight group formations going through that apple. Ostensibly a red delicious. That's right. And why is that? Well, because it just really isn't that delicious. That's right. It's only good for target practice, at least in my mind. That's not necessarily altogether important. It might represent your day. Maybe we can make some correlations as we get on with the birthday read. But like I said, it's not important. What is important is it's October 2nd and it's somebody's birthday today. That's right. And if it's your birthday, I just want to say happy birthday. Yeah. And if this video finds you late, well, I hope you had a happy birthday. That's right. Hope you had a happy birthday. But for everyone else who's joining us randomly or more ideally to celebrate the October 2nd birthday, I want to say hello and welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. All right. Now, before we dive in with the birthday redirect, something we like to do around these here parts is roll some dice. That's right. This is the DykASSt birthday broadcast, and so we need to live up to the namesake. But more importantly, we do it for synchronicity's sake. That's right. And we rolled us a 6 and a 4 for a 10. All right. Hey, so what is synchronicity? You may be wondering. Well, it's just you getting out into the world and letting the universe show you it's with you on your side. And you do that by looking for these numbers. And when you see them, you chase after them with a hunger. Now, you can bring your own dice, roll your own number, but the intention's here. And it's probably preferable you bring a set of dice because you want to get your directions straight. And so you ascribe directions to number sets. And you also want to get your times for how long to go in those directions. But that being said, you just keep your eyes out for your signs. You roll your directions, roll your minutes, and you go after it. And say you walk north for about 5 minutes, you reach your 5-minute mark, and there's just, you don't see anything. Well, just take a moment to compose yourself and keep an eye out. Maybe you see something that's just an anomaly out there. And you know what? That might just be a sign of the universe showing you that that's what the sign is. Maybe there's just no 6s, 4s, and 10s to throw at you at the moment. It could very well be that a bus pulls up and hey, maybe it's just the number 6 line. You waited long enough. Here it is. Well, get on that bus, all right? And maybe you ride it to the number 4 stop. Who's to say? And you get off and you find yourself at a target range, a little bit of archery. You know, sometimes the day takes on a theme. It can be as blunt as that. Sometimes maybe a little bit more subtle. In any event, that's kind of what synchronicity is in a nutshell. I think you get the point. So let's get on with your birthday read, all right? Your month is October, your day the 2nd, your sign is 8 to 10 degrees Libra of the Libra I period specifically, and your quality and element is Cardinal air. All right, October 2nd, the day of verbal acuity. Those born on October 2nd don't mince words, all right? They are usually very candid about their opinions and rarely leave much to doubt when it comes to expressing where they stand on a given subject. One is generally more impressed by their reserve, however, and by their skill in framing concise, pointed, and witty remarks. Those born on this day do not have to get angry or even emotional upset to let you know how they feel. October 2 people run the risk of being too sharp or pointed in their remarks. Consequently, they can arouse antagonism among those who do not know them well and take their words too literally or personally. Often, October 2 people are not fully aware of how devastating their comments can be to sensitive and thin-skinned people, and sometimes they can be accused of being quite ruthless in both word and deed. There is an undeniable social and or political thrust to October 2 thinking and behavior. Most October 2 people are interested in the workings of society and are very adept at both understanding and manipulating people's viewpoints. They can usually turn a difficult situation to their own advantage or sway those who would obstruct them. October 2 people have a certain grace, underlined by charm or raw power, which impresses others. And they should not be mistaken for softies, for they are very tough inside, particularly when it comes to matters of survival. Their attacking capability is equally matched by a resilient defense, and therefore they do not make good enemies for anyone to have. And those born on this day can sometimes have problems with their aggression. At one time, overly shy, at another, overly assertive. In their younger years, October 2 people may also have a thing about violence, either being disturbed by it or prone to indulge in it. And in this, they must learn to be less obsessed and cultivate an inner calm and equilibrium. It is of great importance that those born on this day express disapproval, negativity, aggression, and ambition in a way that does not put others off or leave doubts about ulterior motives. Often October 2 people can be found with a hint of a smile on their lips and a twinkle in their eye. They like nothing more than entertaining or being entertained. And the humorous thrust of their often dry, sardonic wit is evident. And it may well be that others are the butt of their jokes rather than themselves. Indeed, those born on this day are rather thin-skinned when laughter is directed at them, and in this respect have a double standard toward humor. And the extreme sensitivity of an October 2 person is often masked or armored by either a forbidding or light, playful exterior. Both of these disguises may well hide their true nature, as they are very adept at using wit, distancing, or aggressiveness to direct their attention away from their inner self. And only those very close to them may ever see their emotional vulnerability. All right, how about that for a birthday breakdown? All right, hey, let's dive into some notes. I like to provide a commentary here on the birthdays. All right, October 2nd, you're candid about your opinion and able to express yourself in pointed, witty, concisely framed words that the reading claims leave no doubt in what you stand for and also how you feel without necessarily needing to utilize any emotion. And to that end, the reading claims there is a risk of being too sharp or pointed in such remarks, and perhaps the arrows hitting their mark, right? A delicious apple, if you like. And since words often have power behind them, despite the sticks and stones rhyme, right? The reading warns of arousing antagonism from thin-skinned and sensitive folks, probably even otherwise hardened people, if we're being real. And you're verbally acute, as the reading mentions. So the words quite ruthless are also used to describe your words and your deeds, which leads one to believe your arrows find even the tiniest chinks in the tightest weaves of armor. Especially considering today's reading underlines charm and raw power that impresses others. And I would say ostensibly those who haven't mistaken you for the so-called softy they mentioned, or have seen your resilient defense or attacking capabilities firsthand. That all being outlined, it's ironic the reading mentions that you may be rather thin-skinned yourself and have a relationship with violence to some degree. Which may explain your approach to such an accomplished defense, one might argue, to include your humorous bend, all right, which in itself may be a defense mechanism. You're asking, I know from experience, all right, try to use humor to disarm situations, that's right. In any event, this whole thing was quite the psychological case study of a breakdown, all things considered, all right? As most breakdowns don't go into providing so much of these counter-influence dynamics. Let's say I had to carry on here. I assume we all possess as much, but they don't necessarily go into it to that degree. And this breakdown, I would argue, serves as the best representation that I've seen so far of it. So now whether any or all of it applies is that's one thing. But if it does, I know I'd be pretty rocked back in my boots having this read to me, if it applied to me, anyhow. Despite perhaps being a pretty rote Psych 101 kind of lesson. So, that being said, I thought it was a very interesting birthday breakdown. All right, hope you did too. But we're not done yet. Let's dive in with your numbers and your planets. All right, those born on the second of the month are ruled by the number 2 and by the moon. And since number 2 people often make good co-workers and partners rather than leaders, it says, those born on October 2 may fit more easily into jobs and relationships. However, the influence of the number 2 may also act as a brake on individual initiative and action, producing frustration for October 2 people who must do things their own way. And this is further complicated by the moon having strong reflective and passive tendencies. But on the good side, the Venus qualities of Libra here lend grace and charm, as previously mentioned, which can soften the bite rather, of an October 2 personality. All right, hey, what I have to say about your numbers and your planets here. The number 2 and the moon, all right, for a good coworker partner dynamic. And oh, but to be a partner or a coworker to someone like you, who I'd hope takes up someone else's defense when you're with your particular skill set, all right? Especially for those who aren't particularly well-faceted with coming to their own defense, particularly with well-versed wordplay, all right? And this reading does claim that the rulership can be a hamper on individualism, but also relates your Venus influence of grace and charm can counter some of this. All that said, I like the idea of you using your skills to come to the defense of your friends and your partners, all right? So don't poo-poo that idea, all right? Though it didn't make mention of you being in service to others, which is something that they drill down on when it does apply. So be mindful of it. Come to the defense of your lowly coworkers and partners if and they require it. They're going to just admire you that much more. But anyway, hey, let's move on to your tarot. That's right, your tarot. It's one of the more eclectic of the New Age philosophies or ideologies, if you like, but it's here in the book, so why not expand our horizons? We don't need to take it home with us and abide by any of it, but it's interesting. Let's find out what it has to say. All right, the second card of the major arcana is the Priestess, shown seated in her throne, calm and impenetrable. She is a spiritual woman who reveals hidden forces and secrets, and empowering those of us who heed her with that knowledge. Favorable qualities of this card are quietude, intuition, reserve, and discretion. And the negative values include secretiveness, mistrust, indifference, and inertia. All right, a little bit of a copy-paste job here, as that's what they always put down for the Priestess. Sometimes they personalize it, but they didn't do that here. That being said, let's see what I had to say. Maybe I can pick up some of the slack there. The Priestess for revealing hidden forces and secrets to those who heed. All right, calm and impenetrable. And to me, this speaks rather to that twinkle of humor in your eye there. You know something that someone else doesn't, and it excites you. Now that knowing might be that you could tear someone down without even having to really flex, and hence you reserve said power, which you then find amusing. But that might be a very specific case. I was to say, that's just what I thought. Regardless, that's the kind of power I envision from this, all right? That's what I said. And even, use your powers wisely. They also mentioned favorable qualities of quietude and intuition and reserve and discretion. So maybe you hold yourself back a little bit as you assess and you break down your potential enemies. That's where my mind goes in any event. That's been your tarot. Let's move on to your health. All right, your health. Those born on October 2 must be careful not to attract violence, either personal or accidental, due to suppression of aggressive impulses and or fear of injury. And if they are of the more aggressive type, they must also beware of hurting others. Psychological counseling may prove beneficial to October 2 people in helping them discover what makes them tick and how they may correct their behaviors and their attitudes. And those born on this day must be particularly beware of incidents involving the back and the abdominal organs. And above all, they must not believe themselves invulnerable. Settled physical habits, a balanced diet, and mild to moderate exercise will help keep them in line, and they should avoid going overboard in any of these areas. All right, what do I have to say about your health? Avoid violence. This is the first, I think, more converse dynamics at play here. All right, and interesting that they keyed to the psychological aspect and that they suggest counseling to discover your own inner workings. All right, especially considering how much they explored all the psychological counterpoints in the breakdown. Like I said, they don't often do that, and then they go in here and they mention it in the health. They don't do that very often either. Once in a while, though. All the other areas, diet, exercise, organs, again, things mentioned for other Libras, surprisingly. What else did they say here that was a little bit different, though? Your back. I mean, they always mention the kidneys with Libra, but they mentioned your back there, so maybe be mindful of that. Moderate exercise, too. I think with other Libras, they're pretty focused on it. So maybe for you, it's just take it easy, not too much. And what else did they say here? Invulnerable physical habits, abdominal organs, the kidneys and such. They always mention that with Libra. I think there was one other thing, but it's eluding me at the moment. So, hey, that's been your health. Let's move on to some advice. All right, let's get down and dirty with the advice. Don't hide behind your public persona and allow others to see you as you really are. Work to lessen fear and cultivate self-confidence. Find the right balance in expressing negativity, and your bark may indeed be a bite. All right, let others into your life. All right, hey, what I have to say about your advice. I had to write it in the book here because I ran out of space on the page there. Your public persona. Interesting. A lot of that is explored in acting classes. Your public persona. All right. More psychology, though. How much of what you do in public speaks to who you are in private? Is that the case? How much of who you are in public speaks to who you are in private? That's right. Maybe explore that a little bit. Not to be your therapist, because I'm certainly not qualified. That's just where my mind goes. Definitely work to display who you are privately to some extent. All right, I'd say it lessens your defenses as your confidence in who you are then builds. All right, and it's interesting to think that a lack of self-confidence displays as confidence. All right, or that brute strength. I think it's somewhat opposite to that extent. You're going to come off kind of meek, but maybe that's not the case. I mean, that's where my mind goes. But maybe people do try to overcompensate to, so they can hide that lack of confidence. But in any event, I suppose it makes sense either way. People are different, right? So, hey, don't be afraid to shed the public persona. That's right, and let other folks in. And maybe you can improve. Who's to say? I don't know. In any event, that's been your advice. So let's take the energy down a hair and move on to your meditation. All right, your meditation. Silence can be more powerful than speech, not as a weapon, but as a means of quieting the mind and reaching the self. All right, a little loaded, so let's get into it again, shall we? Silence can be more powerful than speech, not as a weapon, but as a means of quieting the mind and reaching the self. All right, that's your meditation. I'm not going to break it down for you, throw some spin on it that might alter its meaning for you. It's your birthday, your meditation. So once more, since it was loaded, silence can be more powerful than speech, not as a weapon, but as a means of quieting the mind and reaching the self. All right, there's your meditation. Let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. All right, here we go. Your strengths, you're witty, you're charming, and you're attractive. And your weaknesses. Are you ready? Let's get it. Your weaknesses, you're cutting, repressed, and you're fearful. All things that can be improved. That's right. All things you can flip the script on. That's right. So those have been your strengths and your weaknesses. Let's dive in with those born on this day. That's right. And as we get into those born on this day, not only do we see who shares your company, but I like to take this as an opportunity to explore your passions. And I say that because I get out in the world and I meet folks and ask them what they do, and more importantly, if they like it. And a lot of times they don't. And so I think that's a huge disconnect in our life and times. And, who can blame anybody for not knowing what their passions are? There's just, you get out of school, you get into a job or profession, there's no time to put into work to figure those kinds of things out. And so I think this is the perfect opportunity not only see who shares your company, but what they did to get themselves in the book, themselves on the map, if you like, and see what they put their stamp on. And maybe, if you don't have any passions of your own or you haven't quite drilled down on them, you can take some inspiration. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. So let's dive in with those born on this day. That's right. We start off strong with Mahatma Gandhi, or Mahatma, Indian religious social independence leader, a lawyer, and assassinated by a religious fanatic. We also have Wallace Stevens, a Pulitzer Prize winning poet, Groucho Marx, I think he did the thing with the cigar, vaudeville entertainer, comic film actor, and a TV host. He probably hid some insecurities with that humorous exterior, right? And behind that phallic symbol, if you like. What else we got here? Graham Greene, British novelist, Brighton Rock, I might have said that already. We got Sting, the British singer-songwriter and bassist, also an actor and an ecology activist. And I think he's into the tantric sex. Maybe look into some of that if you're interested. All right. What else we got here? Cordell Hull, U.S. statesman, Nobel Peace Prize winner. We have Annie Leibovitz, a unique celebrity photographer. Richard III, British king. Not a lot of photographers, so maybe take note. Take that as an inspiration. Ruth Cheney Streeter, a head of U.S. Women's Marine Corps Reserve in World War II, and died in 95. Longevity there. Paul von Hindenburg, German World War I military leader and the first president of the German Republic. We also have Ferdinand Foch, who is a French World War I army commander. Roy Campbell, a South African poet, satirist, an autobiography, Light on a Dark Horse. Donna Karan, Karan, Karan perhaps, fashion designer, DKNY it says. Bud Abbott, the comedian, there you go, film actor of Abbott and Costello. See, his public persona was a little bit of a thin-skinned, meek person, but he had his comeuppance a lot of time against his straight man, if you hadn't seen him there. No, I'm getting that wrong. Bud Abbott was the straight man. Lou Costello was the one that was like, yeah. That's any event. Who else we got here? Spanky McFarland, a child film, TV actor of Spanky and Our Gang and The Little Rascals. We also have Rex Reed, who was, might still be, a film critic, TV reviewer, and syndicated columnist. We also have Willie Ley, a German U.S. rocket engineer, paleontologist, and space travel pioneer. Ruth Bryan Owen, first Southern Congresswoman of Florida. We also have David St. Clair, a journalist, writer of the mighty Amazon, and Don McLean, the folk rock singer-songwriter of American Pie. That's right. And this has been October 2nd, the day of verbal acuity. That's right. That was those born on this day, and we're rounding out your birthday read with that. Except to say, your season is fall, your sign once again is Libra, of the Libra 1 period specifically, and your quality and element is Cardinal air. And once again, I think I said a little early, this has been October 2nd, the day of a verbal acuity from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider, Used Elfers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description. If you're interested in picking up a copy and diving in further, it makes a great coffee table book, and it's going to get the ice broken in either a figurative or a literal sense, considering how big it is. But that's not what's important here. What's important here is that it's your birthday, and we wish you a happy birthday. That's right. Hey, happy birthday again. For everyone else who joined us randomly or to celebrate the October 2nd birthday, I just want to say thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed yourself, and we see you on your birthday reading. But lest we forget, your daily numbers. That's right. You're 6 and you're 4 for a 10. Get out there and let the universe show you it's with you on your path. All right. Once again, happy birthday and take care of yourselves.